Hey everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's okay. And yeah, it's been pretty wet out here on my side of town, over here in Southern Cal. And it's been like I've been coming down, been storming for the last couple of days, and all of that. But hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It cleans the air, gets everything, gets the atmosphere nice and fresh again. Right. That's why I love the rain. Right. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna jump right into it. Uh, what's the name of the title of this live? Each one teach one, or every man for himself? And I want you guys to ask yourself that question because I've definitely been asking myself: is it an each one teach one world, or is it an every man for himself world? And I would say that it's the latter. Most of us, right, uh, live in a mindset where it's every man for himself, and unfortunately, that has created the world we live in today. I'm going to focus this live specifically on my community because I think that's where the subject matter of this live is most needed. And you know, um, it's as I was talking to an acquaintance today about the state of affairs in certain communities. It's definitely the each one teach one philosophy is definitely lacking, and we need more of us out there taking responsibility to pass on the knowledge that we have instead of thinking that it's all about us. No uh, family, country, civilization ever survived on the every man for himself philosophy, right? And part of what I do on this channel is to promote the each one teach one philosophy, right? So I'm on here teaching, and whoever wants to learn, they pick it up and they run with it, right? So, and I myself, I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly trying to figure out new things, right? Gain knowledge, new knowledge for myself that I can pass on to you guys. So it's not like I know everything, right? So there's a young man out of Albany, Georgia. His name is King Randall, right? And I've heard of him about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Came across him online. I don't know how old he is, but he's a young man and he's doing some great things out there. And he's he is the ultimate example, in my opinion, of each one teach one, right? Young African American guy, went through some hard times in his life, and he decided to give back to his community. And he started a school called I think it's called the X School for Boys or Life Preparatory School for Boys, and he's getting young men from his community, young African American men, impressionable, willing to learn, and he's teaching them life skills. I mean, all kinds of skills he's teaching them. And when I first came across King Randall, matter of fact, let me type his name in the chat. Look him up. Yeah, when I first came across King Randall, he was I was very impressed. Right? I was very impressed with his vision to give back and his ability to galvanize groups of individuals, institutions to help him with his cause. And since then he has grown quite a bit. I think he has a school going, because I remember he before, the school wasn't quite developed yet, right? But now it is, and he's churning out some graduates from his school, and it's pretty impressive to see what he's doing out there in Albany, Georgia. He's showing these young kids how to change the brakes on cars. He's teaching them life skills, construction skills, all kinds of trade skills. Okay, and these are young kids too. I'm talking like preteen kids that he's taken under his wing, and I think he has a couple of kids himself. He's taking these kids under his wing and he's showing them how to do these things. Now, the reason I bring him up is because you never really see that, right? You never really see that in our community, and if it's there, um, it's man, it's hard to come by to see someone and doing that stuff, and maybe because it's the spotlight's on him, but it should be. because we need examples like that out there in our communities to show how to take responsibility and really live that each one teach one philosophy. Okay, because there are larger forces at work that don't want this to happen, right? So I'm reading some of what he does. He says teaches basic car maintenance to our students. Most people don't have no idea about their tires and how to change a tire and check tire pressure, the wear of the tire. That's just one example of what he teaches these young kids. Okay, and it shows videos of him with a crowd of kids around him in his community, and he's teaching them. But what was sad to see is that when I did more research on King Randall, I saw that he got a lot of pushback for what he was doing in the community, right? And unfortunately, a lot of that pushback came from his own community. And I'm not going to get into really what they were saying, but my point in saying that is that no matter what you do out here in this world, however no matter how well intentioned you are, and you're doing the greatest things out there, you're going to have critics. Okay, you're going to have critics from your own camp. You're going to have critics from your own camp wanting to, tear you down, right? And it's a sad thing to see. You expect it from the outsiders, right? You expect it from people that that have a history of tearing you down. But when it comes from your own, it's a pretty demoralizing to have to deal with that. But that all builds strength and character, having to deal with that and seeing that, hey, look, life is not a bed of roses, and even the people that are closest to you, or you think that are closest to you, may be your biggest detractors, right? But anyway, King Randall, he's forging ahead. He's forging ahead, and he's doing his thing. Okay, like I said, I urge you guys to check out his channel. It's called New Emerging King. Is his Instagram? Matter of fact, I'll type that in there. Hey, Perry Good Life Knows, how you doing? It's time for us to do something different. Hey, folks, pay attention. Having critics means you are doing something right. Yeah, absolutely, Perry Good Life Knows. If somebody's not criticizing you out there, that means a couple of things. Either you're not doing anything at all, so nobody even knows you, or you're just I wouldn't call you necessarily a people pleaser, but you're pleasing a certain demographic that will never criticize you, right? But if you're out there, if you're putting yourself out there, you're going to get criticized, and you're going to have trolls, as they call them, and you're going to have people that come at you, and they can they can be from anywhere, any background. They can be your own household, right? But King Randall, in spite of his critics, he's garnered a lot of support, from some very big institutions to help him with his cause. And he's really, he's calling out a lot of the inequities in society, and he's doing his best to fill that gap. No matter how small it is, he's doing his best. He's playing his part, and that's all anybody can be asked to do when it comes to solving some of the social justice problems, right? I mean, I was looking at the stats, for the trades and the demographics for the trades. You have, African Americans are only 5%, 5% of the trades, and I looked at that stat, and that stat was put out maybe a couple of years ago, right? I looked at that stat, and I shook my head, and I said, "What? Just 5%? Of the work of the workforce in the trades are African Americans?" And I said, "No, that's some about that. It just can't be right." So if you have any ideas of why that is, please tell me in the chat. Please tell me why you think that is. There's of course all the negative stereotypes out there to support the reasons why that is, and of course they're all false, right? But you see a stat like that, and you you got to kind of it made me dive a little bit deeper into why that could be. Of course, there's obvious reasons, but a guy like King Randall, who I'm talking about right now, he's doing his best to solve that problem, right? Because that is a problem, whether you know it or not, um, whether you care or not. The trades are one of you know, the channels in life for certain communities to get out of where they are, right? And why would that channel be obstructed? Because obviously there's something going on where the numbers are that low, right? The participation rate is that low, right? I mean, what else is there? It's definitely not higher education that a lot of people have are privy to being able to participate in as well. I mean that and so where are they? What are they doing? Are they in the military? Are they where they're at? Are they just hanging out on the corner? You know, um, So I think once we open our eyes and we see what's going on, that there are larger forces at work to displace certain communities, whether they have to be held accountable themselves, or it's not. This is not a blame game thing. This is just looking at what's going on here. Why are they not participating like they should? Why are they not in there? Well, you know, I was listening to a conversation today um, about what's going on in the larger in the larger picture, right? You have immigration, okay, and so and we're not just talking about from the southern country. We're talking about immigration from all over the world, okay. Um, you have about 150 countries that are streaming into the United States uh, as we speak, right? Illegally, right? Coming into the country, some illegally, some legal, and they're from all over the world. I think the largest population, believe it or not, of people coming immigrating to this country, legally and illegally, are Chinese. Okay, and so that's just one group, right? And I said 150 countries, right? So you have many other groups, but you can do the research yourself. So what is that going to do to the American that was born here on American soil, especially the African American community? Well, that's going to displace them, right? That's going to displace them, right? And you can't help to wonder, okay, this is by design to displace a certain community that the larger entities may deem as useless eaters, right? Because you you have no need for them anymore. You build prisons. You're still building prisons, not, and like I said, yeah, everybody's not meant to be on the streets, but you're building all these prisons because where are they? Why are you doing that? So you have all these people coming in from all these other countries, and it's going the competition for jobs, even low skilled jobs, is going to be so high, and there's also this preferential treatment. Let's not even kid ourselves. There is that. Certain people are going to be left out in the cold, right? Because they don't have the skills needed to tread water or even survive or thrive in the new world coming up. So where are those people going to go, right? Where are those people going to go? So as you look at, when you take a bird's eye view of what's happening in the world in respect to where you are, where you live, and you see all these things going on, you kind of put two and two together and say, okay, listen, this is there's a precipice that you're approaching that doesn't look good. In other words, you're getting close to that cliff where if something's not done to prepare yourself, then you're going to fall off the cliff into the traps that have been laid. Yeah. So that's just a long-winded way of saying, we all got to take responsibility for our own communities. Okay. Yeah. Everybody's an American. I get it. And this is not like some overly political conversation I'm trying to get into here. But don't fool yourself and think just because, we all say we're Americans. No, America is a very divided country. And that's a fact. You can't get around that. As much as you want to wave your flags, I think the only time America may have been, the recent times that America may have been united is when 9/11 happened. Then people kind of put aside, their differences because they had a common quote unquote enemy there they were fighting. But that was what, over 20 years ago? Yeah. And a lot has happened since then, and it seems back to the same, same old divisive tactics, and because it's always been that way, right? So if you're at the bottom if you're at the bottom of that social rung, or that social ladder, uh, it's actually more urgent for you to do what you have to do, right? Not just think about yourself, but think about the future of yourself and your community. To do what you have to do to ensure the survival of the community, because as of now, um, if your community is at the bottom of the ladder, then I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you got to take a look at that. It's serious. It's survival. It's all about survival, man. Not just survival, but actually thriving. And you have to do what you have to do, no matter what, to pull yourself up, pull your community up out of that situation. And we're in a bad situation right now. And this is not a doom and gloom thing right here. This is just looking at plain facts. Okay. So what is your responsibility? What is your responsibility? I can tell you my responsibility, and part of, hopefully I'm fulfilling a part of that by what I do on here, on this channel, is to provide skills. And it's not just about, oh, hey, learn about this tool, DIY. No, I want my community to see me, doing something other than entertaining. I'm not an entertainer. I'm on here to educate. Okay, because you're not just an entertainer, right? So quit telling your kids they're gonna, just go after, become an athlete, or, you know, um, you know, or some kind of entertainer, or whatever. Quit telling them that. You're doing a disservice to your kids if you're doing that to them. Okay, that's not going to help us. You have to show them, listen, there's other avenues. Before integration, we had a better um how should I put it, stance when it came to our when it came to our community and where it was going, and where it should go. And um I personally think that when part of, as much as the larger establishment fought against um, integration, um, they realized, hey, if they remain segregated, they're gonna excel. And what they did is, when we were excelling, they went and destroyed the communities that we built, and that happened all over the country. And it's not taught in schools. Uh, because they don't want to they don't want to teach about that stuff, right? I mean, look how they're acting about the critical race theory thing. They don't want to look at the ugly history that that this country was built on, but they want to point the finger at certain communities and say, look, they're no good, they're shiftless, they're lazy, they're this, they're that. I mean, the cognitive dissonance is just out of this world, right? We were doing pretty good, even though we were in some of the harshest times, uh, post slavery, right? The Jim Crow era. We were forced to do it. We were forced to be self-sufficient, and then, you know, came in and destroyed those communities that were built by us. Okay, with our own hands, with our own tools. And now look at our kids. You know, if you look at the literacy rate, the literacy rate, right, in schools today, it's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. Okay, did you know that the literacy rate was much better during segregation than it is integration. Did you know that? So if that's the case, tell me, was it better or worse? Was it better or worse? Yeah. So you got to ask yourself these hard questions. You got to ask yourself these hard questions. Now, if you know, what you see out there today is abysmal, which it is to me. Um, what are you doing about it? What are we doing about that? Right? I think it's the responsibility of every African American adult. And yes, I'm concentrating on the African American community. So if that doesn't interest you, then just tune out. That's fine. Um, it's the responsibility of every African American adult to give back in some way, some form of fashion to their community. Don't just think you made it just because you got a good job or you got this degree or something like that. That's not making it. Okay. That's pretty much just getting a license to survive in a system, right? That wasn't necessarily meant for you in the first place. But you had the fortitude, discipline to, um, uh, you had the fortitude and discipline to, go to school and get a degree and do all that stuff, and that's great. I commend you for that. But that's not where it stops. You don't just go off and get a house with your white picket fence and think you quote unquote made it, right? Because um, that's or that you've achieved the American dream. So the American dream wasn't even written for you, right? Our responsibility is to give back to our own communities, and every community does it, right? Every community does it. It's not our responsibility to um, fit in or integrate to the point of losing our identities. Everybody's praised out there in the world today for keeping their identity. Every culture is praised for keeping their identity. Well, we need to do the same thing. We need to do the same thing. Mike Reed, hey Mike Reed, how you doing? Mike Reed said everything got worse with integration. Yeah, absolutely it did. We thought we thought we won something, and yes, we did achieve certain access, right? We achieved an access to a degree to certain things, which isn't all in all bad. But if you look at the larger picture, before integration, what were we doing? Like I said, we were forced to um, uh, build our own communities, which we did very well. Matter of fact, aside from the most widely known, popular community, which was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you had many communities out there, right, that nobody ever even heard of, that were built, right, that were sustained and were successful communities that were destroyed, that are not in the history books that our kids learn about today. Yeah, Rosewood is one. That's right, Mike. We lost our economic base and suffered brain drain. Yeah, absolutely. But that was the whole point, right? That was the whole point, and was to make sure that those our economic base didn't exist, and to this day, the wealth gap is a testament of what I'm talking about, right? The wealth gap is a testament of what I'm talking about, and if you look at this, the stats on that, it tells you we really haven't progressed. So, when I talk about each one teach one, it's not just about teaching somebody how to use tools or be handy or be able, yes, that's a big part of what I do here. But underneath all that, underneath the mission and the vision of what I do on this channel is to bring back that sense of responsibility, where that sense of self-sufficiency, where you're not dependent, right? You're not dependent on others to build your own, right? And that you should have your own. That's really the only way to really live in this world with a true sense of freedom. And I'm not talking about individual freedom. I'm talking about communal freedom, right? That all what was destroyed and taken away from us. And yeah, so I want us to think about that, right? Is it every man for himself out here? Or do we talk to the kids in our community when we see them walking down the street, and do we stop them and give them a word of encouragement? Do we say, hey, listen, why don't you just think about this, pick up a trade skill somewhere, right? Got a lot of programs out there. um, do we plant the seeds in their heads to do this? That's our responsibility. And sometimes that's all it takes, is to plant that seed. What if we all did that? We see our kids, and I know some kids today in our communities, they're very you say, man, they're too far gone, right? Like they're in the gangs, they're into this, they're into that. But I guarantee you, even the quote unquote hardest uh, person out there in the streets is not immune to somebody giving a damn about them, caring about them, caring about their future, right? And I used to do a lot of community activism here in Los Angeles, in some of the rougher areas, and I never had a problem approaching uh, all kinds of individuals and all kinds of groups, gangs, whatever you want to call them, and they were appreciative of what we had to offer them, because we showed them love. We showed them the love that they probably craved, that the society would never give them. But it's our responsibility to give them that, all right, and to understand that they're not going to get it from anybody else. And so, I think we have to adopt that attitude, moving away from our communities and getting all those assets and big houses and cars and stuff. That's in the end, that's just it doesn't do anything. Yeah, okay, it can be seen as an example of success, and I'm not knocking that. What's wrong with living nice? Nothing's wrong with living nice. I'm not knocking that at all. But if you can't bring some people along with you by going back into the communities, or in some way, form, or fashion, teaching them something where they one day they can achieve whatever they want to achieve too. That's what it's all about. Paragraph 11 says, prior to integration, we were taught to survive, and somehow our best educators in academia and vocationals were shipped or exited from our communities, and that created a void and introduced complacency. Yeah, I think that's what Mike talked about it when he mentioned the brain drain there. Yeah. Um, yeah, unfortunately, the shiny object syndrome is pretty powerful. When you see, you know, when some of our best minds are, most talented individuals are attracted to the trinkets of capitalism. And I'm not knocking capitalism, okay? But everything has its good and bad side to it. Because what that does is, like you just said, Paragraph Life Notes, and Mike, it it takes away our most valuable individuals, the ones who can actually build our community, who can sustain our communities, right? It takes them away, and it dangles this carrot in front of them and say, listen, you know, over there is better. Grass is green over there. Get away from that, where you are right now. And it seems very attractive. It seems very attractive, but in the end, what that ends up doing is keeping that same community that they left in the same state, because you're not coming back to imbue that community with what you've gained, and help that community be level up, right? You want to run from it, and I get it. Sometimes the elements are so unpleasant in that community that you want to get away from it. But what happens is you end up having a resentment for your own community, and that's sad. If you look at most cultures, well, a lot of cultures, they don't have that. Doesn't happen. They come back and they bring the knowledge back to their community, and they build our communities up. So that has to stop. Mike says, of the kids don't live next to doctors, then they feel that it is an unattainable profession. Yeah, right. Because the doctors, lawyers, and the engineers, and the business people, whatever, they're not coming back to communities. They're getting out and staying out. Now, I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but that seems like that's the goal: is to get away, is to get out. So you, like you just said, Mike, the kids have nothing to look at next door. They're just going to look at the same old, element there. There's nobody new coming in or coming back to be a shining example of what you can do. And if they're coming back, they're not living in the community. I'm not, and I get it. It's a sometimes a difficult decision to want to go back to those unpleasant memories and conditions that you work so hard to get away from. But where are you now? Where are you now? Okay, you move from one area to another area where you're probably not even accepted, or you think you are, right? And then you start looking down on the people that come from. It's just, you know, it's yeah, it's I don't know. It seems like a cycle, right? So that brain drain thing is very real. Um, so I think it's important for us to just to stay true to the topic, is to really think about the each one teach one thing, right? And actually give a crap about. I mean, give care about the people in your community. Mike says you buy a house in the hood to rehab it, and they will rob your materials. Yeah, yeah. Sad, that is sad. That is sad. And I guess what we got to do then there, Mike, is we got to secure our materials better. you know, uh, uh, and it doesn't just happen in our community; it happens in all communities. But what's the alternative? What's the alternative there to that? Right? It's just just to leave our communities and just leave them in disrepair, and leave the kids, without a an example of what you should do. And nobody says you got to go back to that community, but you at least got to you have to go back, if not to live it, but at least to to teach, or to be an example. Yeah, they're crafty. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the average. I mean, look, if you look at the average person on drugs on the street, you can learn something from them. You can really learn something from them. I think you can learn something from anybody. For example, um, Mike said, "I'm teaching at arm's length." That's good enough, Mike. That's good enough. But you ever notice a person who's on drugs, and they're on the street, and they're looking for that thing on the ground, and they're up all night. I mean, as I'm not advocating that lifestyle at all, but you can learn something from that. The tenacity and persistence that they have to get their fix, right? To get what they need, and they'll stay up all day, all night trying to get it. Imagine if we had that for our vision, our goals in life, our communities. Imagine if we had, if we felt that way about the each one teach one philosophy, and that those of us who have made it, quote unquote, made it out, go back with that same attitude that addict has to find what he has, what he needs, or he or she needs. You know, that our sole goal for achieving what we have achieved is to go back into the community and raise them up, at least the ones that are willing to be raised. Yeah, I think that's the I think that's the what creates the wholeness of it all, the cycle, right? Of you know achieving something, and then bringing back that knowledge to others, to each one teach one, right? So Yeah, guys, so think about that. It's not every man for himself. You know, like I said, this channel is if I reach 100,000 subscribers, that's great. Matter of fact, you guys can help me reach 100,000. But at the end of the day, this channel is about giving back. At least for me, it's about giving back and being an example for my community. So it's not just about the other superficial things that people go after, right? It's about building a community from the ground up and learning how to use the tools to do that and to sustain the community. And I just use the building trades as an example. This is my vehicle to do that, to be, to embody those principles I believe in. All right. But yeah, everybody's not ready. I get it, but that doesn't mean you got to give up on your people. Anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. Appreciate you guys coming on. Very Good Life Notes, Mike. Go check out King Randall, that guy. Check it out his Instagram and see what he's doing out there. He's a shining example of what I'm talking about tonight. All right. Anyway, guys, have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.